Tiger fans, happy Friday. Locked on LSU podcast. And the Tigers are making a road trip to Nashville, taking on Vanderbilt on Saturday. So today on the podcast, we'll do a preview of that game. 3 ways that LSU can beat Vanderbilt, 2 ways that Vanderbilt could beat LSU. We'll break down all of that. Plus, sports betting is finally legal in Louisiana. So in our final segment of the day, I'll make my betting picks for all the SEC basketball games of the weekend. All of that and more on the Locked on LSU podcast.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks for making the Locked on LSU podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I am Caroline Fenton, and I am your host. I am a sports talk radio host here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am a diehard LSU fan. I went to LSU. I covered LSU sports in my time there and also in my time at ESPN. I'm a diehard Tiger fan, and I'm here to bring you all of the information that you need to know as the Tigers make their road trip to Nashville. I'm so excited. I'm actually going to the game. This is the first game I've been to, the first basketball game I've been to since I graduated from LSU. Of course, 2020 put a hitch in all of that with all of the COVID protocols, and I haven't been able to make my way back to Baton Rouge for a basketball game. So I finally get to go to one. So we'll break down all of that here. But first, some words from our friend, Will Wade.
Believe in this team. We got a good team. Our margins are razor thin, particularly without Penson at full strength. But we still got a good group. And we're gonna find a way to dig some out here down the stretch. We're gonna find a way to make this a good year. But we've got a good group. We got a good foundation, and we got to get back to work, and we've got to increase those margins a little bit.
He still believes in this team, which is what you're going to need because this team has been on a downward slope over the past few games. LSU was coming off of a 76-72 home loss against Ole Miss, a team that had some of the worst offensive statistics in the SEC. And LSU has lost 6 of their last 7. To say that they're in a slump would be kind of an understatement. But on the other side, I mean, it's not like Vanderbilt is any sort of blue blood in college basketball. I mean, they are also coming off of a loss on Wednesday, but Vanderbilt is kind of writing a different story. LSU came out of the gates hot. LSU came out of the gates as one of the better teams in college basketball. Vanderbilt came out, honestly, as a laughingstock. I mean, Vanderbilt was not playing well. Vanderbilt lost games against low-level opponents. They're also coming off a loss on Wednesday night, but it's a different type of loss. LSU was a stunning loss. LSU is a better team than Ole Miss, but Vanderbilt is coming off of a very close loss on Wednesday night against Kentucky. They hung around with Kentucky with a final score of 77-70, which sounds like some sort of, like fantasy land made up stat. But Vanderbilt was able to hang around with Kentucky. LSU, slow start against Ole Miss makes you a little bit nervous about this game on Saturday. But Will Wade said he still believes in this team. And to be completely honest with you, so do I. But the scary thing is, since Will Wade has taken over as head coach of LSU is 0-2 at Memorial Gym at Vanderbilt. They have yet to win a game here in Nashville. So that, combined with the fact that LSU is trending downward and Vanderbilt seems to see some light at the end of the tunnel, their roster getting more healthy, it could be a recipe for a disaster, that a team that desperately needs a conference win, and that is what LSU needs badly. But this absolutely is a winnable game for LSU. And here is exactly how they can beat Vanderbilt. 3 ways that LSU can beat Vanderbilt. First and foremost, they have got to defend threes. And LSU has really found a lot of success defending shots from a distance so far this season. They were only allowing opponents to shoot 27% from 3. LSU has had a shutdown defense so far this season. Only 27% from 3, and then the Ole Miss game happened. Ole Miss entered the first half shooting threes left and right. They shot 43% from three on Tuesday night. And really, I would love to know just the first half three percentage, because Ole Miss, it just felt like it was three after three after three, and there was nothing that LSU could do to come back from it. So defending threes is absolutely going to be my number one priority for LSU to win this game. And it also is a priority for Will Wade as well. This is what he had to say about LSU's defense against the Rebels on Tuesday.
Them too much. We let them get way too comfortable. We let them get way too comfortable from three. They hit 7 threes in the first half. We weren't switching out. We weren't applying pressure. And so when you do that and let them get in rhythm and let them get comfortable, it's tough sledding.
Let them get way too comfortable. That's exactly what they did. If LSU's defense can continue to put on the pressure, not let Vanderbilt get into the groove of shooting from distance, they will begin to look like that top-ranked defense that we haven't seen in a few games. But you cannot let them get comfortable. But Will Wade also brought up another key to this game in the beginning of his words there, and that is keeping the fouls and turnovers to a minimum. And that is my second way that LSU can win this game against Vanderbilt. Against Ole Miss on Tuesday night, they committed 16 turnovers, which Ole Miss then turned into 21 points. And I am no mathematician, I am no genius, but if you lose a game by 4 and you give up 20 points in turnovers, you'd probably win if you just didn't turn the ball over, or at least don't turn it over that much. But here's what Will Wade had to say about some of the sloppy mistakes, poor decision making that LSU had against Ole Miss.
I still believe in this team. We got a good team. Our margins are razor thin, particularly without Penson at full strength. But we still got a good group. And we're gonna find a way to dig some out here down the stretch. We're gonna find a way to make this a good year. But we've got a good group. We got a good foundation. And we got to get back to work, and we've got to increase those margins a little bit. The roll there a couple times. We missed the pass. We fumbled the ball. We just didn't do a good enough job handling the ball. Yeah, we made some really poor decisions in transition down the stretch. The turnover against the zone where we tried to split it, that was a poor. It's because we had guys out there too long. We had guys out there way too long, and they just got tired. And when you're tired, your decision making goes down. And so, we've got to certainly get that under control.
That's exactly what he said there. Turnovers, sloppy passes, careless mistakes. And I totally understand that LSU is dealing with some injury issues, which definitely doesn't help whenever you're dealing with fatigue and then you're forced to make up for some of the mistakes that you may have made in the first half. That's exactly what happened on Tuesday against Ole Miss. Made some sloppy mistakes in the first half, then you're forced to really, push yourself and come back in the game. And you're dealing with fatigue, and especially when you have two of your top guys that are out, Xavier Pinson out with a sprained knee, Brandon Murray dealing with a hand injury. Like, I get it. Your guys are out there longer than they should be because you're just short on men. But getting out to a strong start out of the gate, being consistent is absolutely key here. Not to let too much fatigue set in and lead to mistakes. Come out of the gate strong, come out of the gate early, and take advantage of the fact that you have a really strong defense, and just let yourself sink into the good defense and focus on your shooting, get a lead early, and that way you're not forced to just scramble and come back at the beginning of the second half like LSU did have to do against Ole Miss. But I said there were 3 ways that LSU could beat Vanderbilt. First and foremost, defending threes, something that LSU has had so much success with so far this season. The past couple of games haven't seen that so much. And of course, keeping the fouls, keeping the turnovers, keeping the mistakes to a minimum. The third is scoring per possession and shooting. That is, scoring per possession is something that Will Wade hammers on. But if you just look at the numbers, scoring and shooting is not one of LSU's strong suits. They currently sit 8th in the SEC for field goal percentage, just shy of 44%. Those are no kind of elite numbers. They sit at 8th in the SEC in points per game with 73, 10th and free throw percentage at 71. That's below average shooting in the conference. And the expectations for this team are not below average. But I think one thing that LSU has been able to fall back on is their hard hitting defense. Keep that up. You know what they say, defense wins championships. You'll be able to rely on your defense and you just keep keeping up with consistent shooting. And that's going to be an easy key for the Tigers to beat the Doors here on Saturday. But coming up next, we will take a look at Vanderbilt's strengths, 2 ways the Commodores could win this game here in Nashville. But before we get to that, I want to tell you all about Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game in a couple weeks. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Whatever you need, a score, if you want to see who is getting hot, if you want to put some money on something, BetOnline.net is your place to go. And it's not just football. BetOnline also has up to the minute information on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. But don't wait to take advantage of the amazing offers available for the 2022 season. Bet Online, where the game starts. Hey, Tiger fans, this is Caroline Fenton with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. My listeners are earning cash back for every single gallon of gas every single time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or even Google Play right now. Use the promo code SCORE, SCORE, for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first fill up. Cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore because we all know gas prices are high. Get cash back with Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code SCORE for 25 cents per gallon or more on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a year in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. All you have to do is download the Get Upside app. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, Amazon, many other brands. All you have to do is download the free Get Upside app. Use the promo code SCORE and get 25 cents per gallon or more on your first tank. That is code SCORE. All right, Tiger fans, I appreciate you for making Locked On LSU your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure to subscribe to the Locked On LSU YouTube channel. We'll have all of our episodes dropping every morning at 9 a.m. on the Locked On LSU YouTube channel. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Caroline Fenton1. I'll post pod updates there as well as the Locked On LSU Twitter. So, any links to the podcast, any podcast updates, any LSU updates, I'll be tweeting those from my personal account as well as the Locked On LSU account. So make sure to give those a follow as well. But I said the 3 ways that LSU can beat Vanderbilt on Saturday: defending threes, keeping fouls, turnovers, mistakes to an absolute minimum, because that's something that LSU's been dealing with for the past couple of games, and it's really burned them against inferior opponents. It's just sloppy mistakes. And scoring per possession and scoring period. Scoring per possession is something that Will Wade emphasizes all the time, and it's something that LSU has struggled with. But if they can keep consistent with all 3 of those things, this game is absolutely going to be a winner. But before we get into how LSU could possibly lose this game, it is Super Week. Finally, brought to you by the Get Upside app, and there is no better place to get coverage of the big game than the Locked On NFL podcast. Locked On NFL, Locked On Bengals, and Locked On Rams will all be in LA all week covering the big game. We've got some snow coming here in Nashville, so I wouldn't mind being in LA this week. So I hope the hosts of the Locked On NFL, Locked On Bengals, and Locked On Rams podcasts have a good time in LA. But a couple ways that LSU can lose this game. Now, LSU's lost 5 of the past 6. Vanderbilt is not a good team, but any team will beat you if you beat yourself. But there have been some assets, some weapons on this Vanderbilt team that have been missing for this entire season. Vanderbilt had a full roster for the first time on Wednesday against Kentucky. So the ways that LSU can lose this game: 3, Scottie Pippen Jr., Rodney Chapman, and Liam Robbins. The first time that Chapman and Robbins were in the lineup together were on Wednesday against Kentucky, and Vanderbilt was able to stick around with Kentucky, something that a couple of weeks ago would have sounded like science fiction, fantasy land, made up story. I wouldn't have believed you. But they were able to hang around with Kentucky because of those three. Now, Scottie Pippen Jr., I mean, he's no secret. He's been outstanding all season, but it's really just been him. He's been a one-man band. He had 33 points on Wednesday against Kentucky. 33 points, the most by any SEC men's basketball player this season, and 6 rebounds against Kentucky. So, what changed here? What was the reason why Scottie Pippen Jr. was able to score that many points? For the first time this season, the Commodores had both Rodney Chapman and Leon Robbins available. And Scottie Pippen doesn't have to do it alone anymore. Now, they were both in and out of the lineup, especially Liam Robbins. He'd come in for a couple of minutes, be out for a couple of minutes, in for a couple of minutes. So neither of them really made any sort of impact on the box score. They combined for 0 points, 3 rebounds, 1 block, 3 steals against Kentucky, but their presence was still felt. Now, Scottie Pippen Jr. talked about having a full lineup, and this is what he said after the game. He said, "The game came easier to me today, especially having Rodney out there and Liam. He's just coming back right now, but as time goes on, I think it will make it even more easy for me. Having all those threats out there is always great because defenses can't focus too much on me and I can get my teammates better looks." So Scottie Pippen, a one-man band going into the Kentucky game. But whenever they're able to spread out the wealth, whenever other guys can get looks, when other guys can be defended, it allows Scottie Pippen to pop off and do his thing. So why was I emphasizing defense so much in that first segment? Not only because that's an incredibly important part of the game, but defensive pressure needs to be applied all the way around, and it needs to be applied consistently. Because you take a look off of Rodney Chapman, boom, open net. You take a look off of Scottie Pippen Jr., and good luck because he will score on you up and down the court. They were able to do it against Kentucky. So who's to say they won't be able to do it against LSU as well? The second reason why LSU could lose this game, and I just mentioned it, it's bad defense. And it's been the thorn in LSU's side over the past couple of weeks. Their last game on Tuesday against Ole Miss scored 1.188 points per possession. LSU is giving up on average 1.112 points per possession in their last 4 games. Their season average, 0.882. Their last 4, 5, 6-ish games, LSU hasn't been playing the same defense, and the numbers show it right there. Ole Miss is not a good offensive team. They were shooting a mere 40, barely even 43% from the field all season, and against LSU, they were 52% overall, 43% from 3. I mean, they were able to make Ole Miss look like a pretty solid defense, and they're not. 8 of LSU's first 10 opponents scored fewer than 0.9 points per possession. They couldn't even hold 8 of their last 9 to that many points. So LSU's defense is a concern for me. But if now is any time to get back on track, do it now. The regression of this defense is a concern. But we heard it from Will Wade earlier in the show. He still believes in this team. And I wholeheartedly agree with him that if you can see it earlier in the season and you're in a slump, get out of it, and Vanderbilt is the team to do it against. But coming up next, betting is finally legal in Louisiana. And I live in Nashville, I live in Tennessee, and it's been legal here for the entire time that I've lived here, about a year now. So I will make my betting picks of the weekend coming up next. All the SEC games. Got 6 games this weekend. I got 3 games to pick for y'all. So we'll do that coming up next. We'll also do that every Friday. I'm going to try and make, intertwine some betting picks throughout the week. But Friday is when I'll make my official betting picks, my official betting segments. So make sure to keep an eye out for those as I pick the games for the weekend. But before we get into that, it is the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit, eating healthier, getting in the gym, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and honestly, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolutions because it tastes so good and you will want to eat it, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy, taste like a chemical spill. Overall, not a fun experience. You want to eat healthy, but sometimes it gets really boring, and sometimes you just want to have something that satisfies those cravings. But by week 3, you might be thinking, like, this diet just isn't worth it. Where is the chocolate? Built bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built bars contain only 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. That'll keep you full all day. And compare that to a candy bar, which is usually around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. You get the taste and you get the nutrients out of Built bars when you really only get the taste and all the bad stuff out of candy bars. But here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, at the office, in the car, wherever. Throw out all your sugary or calorie filled treats and replace them with Built bars. So when you're craving a snack or a treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you don't have to go in the gym. You can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. That way, when you enjoy a delicious Built bar, you can almost count it as a workout. There's so many flavors to choose from. You got coconut almond, you got raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie. My personal favorite, peanut butter brownie, and so many more. But in fact, Built Bar is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So make sure to check out their website, built.com, often to see what's new. I know I found some of my favorite flavors by checking out their website, and I think you can too. Here is the offer. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That is LOCKED15. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. But I promised you that I would get into some of my betting picks of the weekend. So I'm picking 3 games, 3 SEC basketball games this weekend. So let's make some money off of them. Finally, all of you listeners in Louisiana can make some money off of it. I'm sure that the past, I believe this week, maybe last week, Louisiana, it became legal to bet in Louisiana. So I'm sure the sports books have gotten an influx of cash coming in on the Bengals plus 4.5 in the Super Bowl coming out of Louisiana. But hey, bet on the college basketball games this weekend as well. First and foremost, we got 2 early games that I am picking. Number 22, Tennessee at South Carolina. My pick here is Tennessee. And at the time that I'm recording, there isn't a spread out, but I'm going to take Tennessee against the spread as long as it's below between 12 and 15 points. The last game, Tennessee beat Texas A&M 90-80, and 5 of their players scored double-digit points. Josiah Jordan-James has established himself as a certified baller. This entire team is full of playmakers, of ballers. Santiago Vescovi, another one who's just incredibly reliable. You can always count on him to put up some big numbers. But this is the second time that these teams are meeting this season. Last game, Tennessee won it by 20. So give me the Vols to win this one. Give me the Vols to win this one big, because the Vols are really on an upward trend. And I think that we're going to see big things from them in the tournament later on here in the season. Second game that I am picking, Auburn at Georgia. Auburn is red freaking hot. The number 1 team in the country. They're on an 18-game winning streak. Now, Fox college basketball analysts Mark Titus and Tate Frazier said on their podcast, Titus and Tate, that Auburn is due for a loss sometime soon. And that's sometimes what I question too. I always try and stray away from betting against a hot team. But when you're on an 18-game winning streak, I mean, at some point, something has got to give. But that's exactly what Mark Titus and Tate Frazier thought. But Georgia won't be that team. Georgia most recently lost at home to Arkansas, at home, by 26 points. They were able to keep it honestly pretty close in the first half. Arkansas did outscore them in the second half, but they could not even keep it close in the second. I think they only scored like 26 to Arkansas's 47 in the second half, so they really pulled away there. But Georgia's 6-17 on the season. Auburn is the best team in the country. This one is a no-brainer. Give me the Tigers. You've also got number 5 Kentucky going into Alabama. I think this is also a no-brainer here. It's really frustrating that LSU competes with 2 of the best teams in the country in their conference, in Kentucky and Auburn. But I mean, Kentucky is a blue blood, a certified blue blood. Auburn has outstanding coaching, has outstanding talent. Give me Kentucky to get it done in Alabama and to get it done big. Because the only reason why LSU lost against Alabama, sloppy mistakes. And then, of course, my bonus game of the night, I know I said I only would pick 3, but my bonus game, of course, has to be LSU going into Vanderbilt. Give me LSU because I think that LSU is so incredibly sick and tired of getting embarrassed. And that absolutely is the culture that Will Wade has instituted in this team is the sort of, chip on your shoulder type of mentality of if you want to count us out, that's fine. We'll make you pay for it. This mentality of we've been down, but we'll come back up and we're going to prove something. And I think that LSU's loss against Ole Miss on Tuesday was just the biggest kick you while you're down moment against an inferior opponent. And LSU is holding on to the top 25 by the hair of their chinny chin chin. And they know that losing at Vanderbilt, a team that has been less than impressive all season, would completely ruin their chances in the top 25. Their stock would go down. And although I know that really doesn't matter to them in their minds, I'm sure that's going to be a fueling fire here for LSU. So I'm going to take them to beat Vanderbilt. Again, I'm going and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to finally see this LSU basketball team in person here in Nashville. But that is going to do it for me today. We recapped some of the things that LSU basketball has done this week and why that makes me feel confident that they can beat Vanderbilt here in Nashville on Saturday. Now, there are 3 guys to keep your eyes on: Scottie Pippen Jr., Rodney Chapman, and Liam Robbins, who were able to give Kentucky the business on Wednesday. They did end up losing that game, but it was way closer than I thought it would be. A 77-70 loss for Vanderbilt against Kentucky on Wednesday. But I appreciate all of y'all and thank you for making Locked On LSU your first listen every day. On Monday's edition, we'll recap the Tigers matchup at Vanderbilt on Tell the Truth Monday. I'm taking a little page out of our good old friend Coach O's playbook, and we'll make every single Monday Tell the Truth Monday. We'll also recap the biggest stories of the weekend that you may have missed. And also just a little bit of a reminder, every Wednesday I'll be doing a Mailbag Wednesday. So if you have any questions about LSU that you'd like me to fill in on, whether that's the basketball team, baseball preseason, whether that's National Signing Day, how this LSU football team is going to look in the fall, or whether that's just personal questions about me, you want to get to know me a little bit better, feel free to send those questions in. You can DM me on Twitter at Caroline Fenton1. You can just tweet me. You can tweet at the Locked On LSU account, DM that account, however you want to chat with me. I always check the YouTube comments as well. So if you have a question, we'll get those in for Mailbag Wednesday next week. But we'll get to that on Monday. That'll be your first listen every day, but make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you Monday.